an unknown destination where it is assumed he will shortly take the oath of office as the President of the United States.
Good evening. The essential facts are these. President Kennedy was murdered in Dallas, Texas. He was shot by a sniper hiding in a building near his parade route.
As we told you a moment ago, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas today. He was shot in Dallas at 12:25 as his car proceeded through the crowded streets of Dallas. He died 35 minutes later in the Dallas Parkland Hospital. Governor John Connally of Texas was also shot by the assassin. The condition in which Governor Connally now is, we do not know as yet, but apparently he is conscious and has talked to an aide there. Vice President Johnson was in a following car and was apparently not hurt. He has left the hospital and has gone to an unknown destination where it is assumed he will shortly take the oath of office as the President of the United States.
Good evening. The essential facts are these. President Kennedy was murdered in Dallas, Texas. He was shot by a sniper hiding in a building near his parade route.
As we told you a moment ago, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas today. He was shot in Dallas at 12:25 as his car proceeded through the crowded streets of Dallas. He died 35 minutes later in the Dallas Parkland Hospital. Governor John Connally of Texas was also shot by the assassin. The condition in which Governor Connally now is, we do not know as yet, but apparently he is conscious and has talked to an aide there. Vice President Johnson was in a following car and was apparently not hurt. He has left the hospital and has gone to an unknown destination where it is assumed he will shortly take the oath of office as the President of the United States.
Good evening. The essential facts are these. President Kennedy was murdered in Dallas, Texas. He was shot by a sniper hiding in a building near his parade route.
As we told you a moment ago, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas today. He was shot in Dallas at 12:25 as his car proceeded through the crowded streets of Dallas. He died 35 minutes later in the Dallas Parkland Hospital. Governor John Connally of Texas was also shot by the assassin. The condition in which Governor Connally now is, we do not know as yet, but apparently he is conscious and has talked to an aide there. Vice President Johnson was in a following car and was apparently not hurt. He has left the hospital and has gone to an unknown destination where it is assumed he will shortly take the oath of office as the President of the United States.
Good evening. The essential facts are these. President Kennedy was murdered in Dallas, Texas. He was shot by a sniper hiding in a building near his parade route.
This episode contains strong language, graphic depictions of violence and death that may be disturbing for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
to judge because I do, but what did you forget to do?
Oh, nothing. Just, lovely mistakes. Anyways, so started off from the beginning. But we got a special episode for you guys today. It's gonna be a conspiracy theory episode on the JFK assassination. Hey, guess what our drinking word of the day is?
We hate technology? Is that the drinking word of the day?
No, it's gonna be CIA.
Okay.
So the drinking word of the day is CIA. Every time I say it, we have to take a drink. It's in there quite a bit. That's why I chose it. For those of you that are watching and listening to us out there, if you have any insights or thoughts or theories on what actually happened on that day JFK got assassinated, leave a comment. Let us know what you think, and we'll read them at the end.
I'm kind of excited because I don't really know much about conspiracy theories behind it.
Really?
Really. I just know what the
It's
basics
much.
is.
It's going to be just a broad. I wouldn't say broad. I'm going to get into it a little bit, but when I was doing research, everywhere I looked, there was a deeper rabbit hole to go into, and a deeper one, and a deeper one. So I try to stay on task with this, because I just want it to be about the different theories. But yeah, there's quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and get started. John F. Kennedy was the 35th president of the United States. He was a major figure whose presidency was tragically cut short on that fateful day in Dallas, Texas, November 22nd, 1963. While the official explanation points to Lee Harvey Oswald as the lone assassin, some conspiracy has shrouded the historical event for decades. So the Warren Commission was tasked with investigating JFK's assassination. And
who the heck is the Warren Commission?
A commission for the Warren. Anyways, so they concluded that Oswald acted alone. They basically were the last ones to be like, all right, this is what happened.
Okay.
But they concluded that he acted alone from the 6th floor window of the Texas School Book Depository. However, numerous questions have sparked different theories that could have taken place on that day.
Wait a minute. Maybe I have heard some conspiracy theories. Go on.
There's a lot out there. I chose a few to go over, but it gets pretty interesting.
I think I know one that I kind of vaguely remember, but go on.
Okay. So one theory is involving multiple gunmen rather than a single shooter.
That's the one I've heard
that
of.
That one's pretty common.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at the shots.
That's what I remember watching a documentary on, like the different angles and how they went, like how he was hit, and
back and to the left. Anyways, so witnesses at Dealey Plaza claimed to hear shots coming from various directions simultaneously. There was film that captured the entire incident frame by frame, which I had before we actually went live.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably spotty, but I apologize about that. But so that video footage raised further doubts about the solo gunman theory. And experts analyzed the footage, and they found that more than 3 shots were fired. Looking at the footage and hearing there was 3 shots that were fired.
Okay.
So a Secret Service agent by the name of Clint Hill did an interview with American Veterans Center and recalled the entire shooting. So me and Matt, we actually looked up this interview. And it's pretty interesting. So this guy, he was in the vehicle directly behind the president.
Right.
When everything occurred. He heard the first gunshot go off. And then he got out and jumped into the back of the president's car. He realized the president got shot twice.
Okay.
Even though he only heard one gunshot go off. The first gunshot hit the president in the back of the neck and exited through his throat.
Right.
So he immediately grabbed for his throat and kind of slumped over. Another gunshot hit the president in the back of the head, ultimately killing the president. So that shot really did him in. So there was 3 shots.
Okay. Where was number 3?
I think number 2 was a miss, or 1 or 2, simultaneously.
Okay.
Because there was 1 shot that went through the neck. Pause, and then 1 shot went through the back of the head.
Okay.
Him. So, even if it was the case of a like solo killer, there are still questions surrounding Oswald's motive, because he is, Harvey Lee Oswald, the guy that was ultimately killed him.
Wait a minute. Going back to the shots. What about the angles? Were they able to determine that they originally came from? Because if I remember, what I had learned was it appeared like some of the shots actually came from the ground as opposed to 6 stories up in the air.
Yeah.
Really?
No. So if you look at the actual video, it looks like it did come from the ground. That's why people are questioning everything.
Yeah, because when I went to Dallas, I got to see that spot, where President was murdered. And there's like hills in that area. And I remember somebody saying something about how they thought the gunman had to be in that hill area as opposed to 6 stories up in the air. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And everybody has their different views on what happened, but this is the Warren Committee saying this is what happened.
Oh.
So we'll get into it a lot deeper, but it's still questioning Oswald's motive and capabilities as an assassin, making that shot from the 6th floor. 2 of them directly on point, and people argue that his history as a Marine Corps marksman wasn't enough to execute all these precision shots within seconds. He had connections to intelligent agencies and potential Soviet connections, and that raised suspicion about whether he acted alone or had accomplices.
Got it.
So another conspiracy claim centered around Jack Ruby's murder of Oswald 2 days after Kennedy's assassination. So Ruby was arrested for murdering Oswald 2 days after, and he was actually sentenced to death by the Dallas court system.
Right.
For murder. His conviction was later appealed, and he was granted a new trial, but unfortunately and suspiciously, Ruby became ill and died later before his trial from pulmonary embolism in 1967. So basically, there was blockage of his arteries and his lungs.
Right.
And he died. So I think that's a little weird. That,
I mean,
I think maybe they were trying to cover something up and silencing witnesses.
Okay. I mean, I'll go with that, but a pulmonary, how are they going to, embolism, but how are they creating that? Or are you just saying that they faked the
actual
cause of
diagnosis?
Death?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe they poisoned him, something like that. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there, but it just seems weird that he murdered Oswald 2 days after he murdered the president.
Right.
Was sentenced to death. And maybe he was wanting an appeal to actually speak out, and they were
I'm
like,
just really shocked that they put him through the court system that quickly, because it takes forever. Because all he had to do was walk in there and say not guilty. How are they going to hold a trial in 2 days?
Yeah.
I just find that fascinating.
No, not in. He murdered him 2 days after 2 days of Oswald's assassination.
Got it.
He got arrested.
Right.
Later on, he was sentenced.
Okay, sorry. I misunderstood that.
Prison.
I thought it was all within a 2-day time frame, and I was like, Jesus, what kind of...
They acted quick on this.
He was like, I have the right to a speedy trial, and I want it tomorrow.
Hey, that's awesome. But, no, it just raises suspicion that there was possible cover-ups and silencing witnesses who could have exposed a larger plot behind JFK's assassination.
Do you know how old Ruby was?
Oh, God. I want to say... I don't, actually. Maybe 40, 50.
Okay.
She's probably like 12.
I was just curious because, I mean, anybody can obviously get a pulmonary aneurysm, but I just...
Usually it's due with age.
Or embolism, sorry.
But if he's young, something adding up.
I like how you're saying, like, at between 40 and 50, you're going to get one of these. And that's, like, how old I am. And I'm going to kill over and die, apparently, according to you.
I guess.
He was 55.
Okay. So, yeah, he was well over the age.
Yeah. Well over the age. He's probably going to kill... I'm obviously going to get one tomorrow. So let's move on.
So... Several alleged eyewitnesses also reported seeing unidentified individuals tampering with evidence at the crime scene shortly after Kennedy's murder.
Okay.
So they were probably moving around the ballistics and a bunch of other stuff.
Now, is it possible, because, I mean, I've talked about it.
I mean, this is conspiracy theories. Anything is possible, Shelley.
Oh, I know. I'm just wondering, like, because... I think I've talked about it in like multiple different investigations I've talked about, especially like in the past. People didn't like preserve crime scenes very well, and they would like want to take souvenirs. Yeah. So how much of this is possibly people? And
there's hundreds of people there.
Yeah, because it was a parade.
Yeah,
or something along those lines, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And so, is it possible that some of these bystanders were like, "I just watched the president die, so I'm going to start collecting shit"?
Like, that may be.
I mean,
that could be.
Yeah.
But if it was part of the government people messing with it, I mean, that just deepens the suspicion.
Well, and it would be easy for the government at that point.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I said, people are probably trying to collect souvenirs. So it would be easy for them to just sneak in and be like, hey, let's collect this while we can.
All right. So we're going to get into the drinking word of the day segment.
I'm excited.
You're about to drink 20 times in 5 minutes. So the CIA.
Okay.
Their involvement in JFK's assassination has become a main focus for conspiracy theorists. And I actually really like diving into this because it was interesting. It was creepy. It was startling. It was insane.
I find the CIA interesting because they're just Central Intelligence Agency?
Yeah. But they have their hands in everything.
Yeah, well, they're basically, I don't know the point of them. So
for Central Intelligence.
I get it. So to me, it says I'm a spy, but let's learn about them. What the fuck are they? People that have all their shit and everything. I like how you describe it.
Yes. So Kennedy had clashed with the CIA over issues such as the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Oh, yeah.
And his intention to dissolve the CIA altogether.
Wait, he wanted to dissolve them completely?
Yeah. So...
Okay, now. This is interesting.
I'm going to dive into the Bay of Pigs invasion. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's Cuba, communism.
Yeah. So
they had a bunch of pigs in the ocean.
No, don't listen to her. Anyway, so the Bay of Pigs invasion was organized and financed by the United States government to invade Cuba after Fidel Castro overthrew the Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista.
I am proud of you.
In 1959.
Nice.
So the U.S. government did not trust Castro and did not like his relationship with Nikita Khrushchev, who was the leader of the Soviet Union.
Okay.
So before JFK's inauguration, he was briefed on a plan made by the CIA to train Cuban exiles for an invasion on their homeland to take Castro out.
Okay.
They were anticipating that the Cuban people, along with parts of the Cuban military, were on board with the invasion because they were hoping that everybody wanted peace. But
did they actually ask anybody? I'm just curious. I mean, I know that I don't feel like they did because it is a communist. At that time, I know Cuba was a communist country, and I don't. I mean, unless they had people hidden in there. Probably CIA being all spy-y.
Yeah, I'm sure. But with them eliminating Castro, there would be a non-communist government who was an ally to the United States. That's exactly what the CIA wanted.
Okay.
So the original plan was that 2 airstrikes were going to take out the Cuban air bases. A 1,400-man invasion force would go undercover in the darkness and launch a surprise attack.
Okay.
Paratroopers would drop in advance and disrupt transportation.
Okay.
A smaller force would land on the east coast of Cuba to create confusion.
This is just a small island, too. Like,
I know.
This is a lot of work. Go on.
The main force would advance through to Matanzas and set up a defense position. So the United Revolutionary Front would send leaders from South Florida to create a provisional government for them once their government falls. So this is the plan they came up with. And it would all depend on the Cuban population joining the invaders in the fight.
So they would have to know for sure that the Cuban civilians were ready to do their thing, and join them.
Yeah.
They better have had a lot of fucking spies ready.
Well, that was the plan, right?
Okay.
So the first batch of the plan occurred on April 15th, 1961, when 8 bombers left Nicaragua to bomb Cuban airfields. The CIA used World War II B-26 bombers.
Oh.
But they painted them to look like Cuban Air Force planes.
Okay.
So they can get in undetected
That makes sense.
and bomb. So the bombers ended up missing.
Do they think that they were that stupid? Because, I mean, if they know that all of a sudden, how many planes?
There was...
I know you just said it. I missed it.
8.
8
bombers.
Got it. If I was sitting at an airport and I'm in Cuba, I'm running the airport, and all of a sudden, like, 8 Cuban painted planes come flying in, I would know whether or not 8 planes left earlier that day. And you know what I mean?
Bombers.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
You're talking about the military,
right? I'm just saying,
not
like,
the airport.
It doesn't seem like I mean, I get the point of the disguise, but
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm at a military base in Cuba or an airport in Cuba, I'm going to have enough intelligence to know that 8 planes did not take off earlier and are coming back.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
So the bombers
Yeah.
ended up missing most of their targets and left most of Castro's Air Force intact.
Okay.
After this, news broke out of the attack, and photos of the repainted planes, bombers, became public and revealed that American support was involved in the invasion.
Got it.
So I'm assuming they shot some down, and they realized, shit, this isn't our bomber. These are painted.
Well, yeah. I mean,
wiped it off. USA.
well, like I said, I'm sure they were smart enough to figure out that, they didn't have 8 planes leave and 8 planes were coming back. You know what I mean? Like, so
it was probably
knew.
more of like a surprise attack.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, that makes
they were
way
like,
more sense.
oh, what's going on with these? So
right. That makes more sense.
So the CIA wanted a second airstrike.
Okay.
But President Kennedy canceled the second strike. He was like, nah.
Well, yeah, because the first one was a hot mess express.
Yes. So on April 17th, the Cuban exile invasion force, known as the Brigade 2506, landed at beaches along the Bay of Pigs and immediately came under heavy fire. Cuban planes strafed the invaders, sank 2 escort ships, and destroyed half of the exiles' air support. Bad weather affected the ground force, which they had to work with like soggy equipment and not enough ammunition for the fight. So over the next 24 hours, Castro ordered roughly 20,000 troops to advance towards the beach. And the Cuban Air Force continued to control the skies, and as the situation grew, President Kennedy authorized an Air Umbrella Act on April 19th. So 6 unmarked American fighter planes.
All I'm picturing is he's releasing this giant umbrella from an airplane, like a massive one that just floats down and covers everybody, like a dome.
Shades out the sun.
I know. It sounds actually kind of nice, but go on.
Anyways, so 6 unmarked American fighter planes took off to help defend the brigade.
Okay.
But the planes arrived an hour late, and that may be due to like the change in time zones between Nicaragua and Cuba. Maybe they had it off. I don't know. You would think they're smarter than that. But
right. I mean, you would think so.
right. But they were shot down by the Cubans, and the invasion was crushed later that day. So 1,200 members of the Brigade
Yeah.
2506 surrendered and were imprisoned, and more than 100 were killed.
Damn. That's terrible.
Yeah, so the prisoners were held captive for 20 months till the
Jeez.
United States made a deal with Fidel Castro.
Okay.
The U.S. and Castro came to a deal, and Castro received $53 million worth of baby food and medicine
Oh.
in exchange for the release of the prisoners. That's the same reaction I had when I read that. I was like, he wants money. And then it's like, oh, to help people? That's interesting, but we want to take him out. Like, obviously that doesn't fully show his intentions, but
No, but I mean, it's
something.
It's something. And when, like, technically, you didn't have to grow up with the whole communist
Right.
craze like I did in the 80s.
Damn.
Yeah. Go ahead. Point out that I'm over 40 again. But anyways, like, there was this like huge fear of communism, and obviously the leaders were terrible people that were, I mean, I think it still kind of exists today, but that they, their leaders were terrible people, that they didn't do anything for their, the people there. And that just throws me to hear that he wanted baby food and medicine.
Baby food and medicine for exchange for the release of the battalion.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'd fork over some baby food. So
After we invaded them too, like
yeah. So I find that a really bizarre exchange, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So the disaster at the Bay of Pigs had an impact on Kennedy's administration because it was an invasion that failed. So
Which the U.S. supposedly doesn't have that many.
Right.
Suppose.
But the CIA had numerous declassified documents that had revealed covert operations by government agencies during this area.
Okay.
So one document explained the Operation Northwoods. And I wish I got into that one because it's interesting. So Operation Northwoods was a false flag operation involving staged terrorist attacks on American soil.
Like,
yes. The CIA had a false flag operation.
So they would just randomly pretend to attack our own citizens? Cool.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the ones that came out. So one would speculate that powerful people would go to extreme lengths to maintain control, basically.
Right.
But some speculate that the CIA had connections with Lee Harvey Oswald. So it's been said that Oswald was manipulated by rogue agents within the CIA who wanted to frame him for the assassination in order to protect their involvement with the assassination. So the CIA did have involvement with the investigation after JFK was assassinated. And people believe that they tried to prevent the truth from being uncovered by withholding documents and misleading investigators. So a law was proposed that all documents involving JFK's death were going to be released by 2017.
And
Donald Trump became president at this time.
Okay.
And he did fight for them to be released.
I'm impressed. Go on.
But hold your breath. But he actually pushed back the due date.
Oh.
Due to national security concerns. So they were afraid that...
Time out. You're saying Donald Trump had national security concerns when he ran off with, like, what did he have? Like, all the codes when he left? And was like, I'm going to Florida with all the codes. See you guys later.
My guess to this is that somewhere in the JFK assassination binder, it conflicted with one of our nation's allies. And if that got released, then they would be basically held to pay. Okay. So I think we're trying to cover that. I think that's what he's trying to cover up. But when Joe Biden took office, he ordered for most of the documents to be released.
Okay.
One of these documents included the CIA intercepting a phone call on October 1st, 1963, made by Harvey Lee Oswald to the Soviet embassy in his hometown in Mexico City, just weeks before the assassination. During the phone call, Oswald asked the embassy if there was anything new about his application for visa into the USSR.
Interesting. I mean,
Calling from Mexico City. So the CIA had taps into Mexico City, and the president or leader down there knew about the taps.
right.
So that's how they were tapped in.
Now, before we all guess that he, is part of the Soviet Union and was a spy for them or whatever
Yeah.
conspiracy thing,
Yeah.
is it possible that he just thought, if I get there and I'm accepted as a citizen there, obviously the USSR is not going to just turn him over? Because, I mean, they're not a huge fan of the U.S. So
Right. That was my guess, was that he was trying to speed up the application process.
Right.
So when the job's done, he can
But
speedy way.
the embassy is ran by U.S. people. So I can't imagine that they're going to just hurry it up when they know that he's a suspect.
CIA knows.
Got it. So they don't know the U.S. embassy.
God, everybody's getting drunk tonight.
I know. I'm sorry. The U.S. embassy doesn't. I get what you're saying. So this is like shortly. But he was arrested 2 days later, right? Isn't that what you said?
2 days after the assassination.
Got it. So this was the day after the assassination, or when did he call this in? I know you said October 3rd. When was the president shot?
Oh, God. October 3rd, and then the president was shot. I believe it was... God dang it, Shelley.
I'm sorry.
You're really going to make me lose my spot.
I don't mean to do that.
So the president was November 22nd.
Oh, so he was actually planning a month and a half in advance.
Yeah.
Okay. So that way he could basically just book it directly to the USSR.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. No. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just trying to keep the whole story straight so I can figure out what's going on in my head.
Okay. So there are 95% of these CIA documents released, and people are pushing for them to release all of the documents.
Mm-hmm.
But the CIA is dragging its feet and beating around the bush. And to me, it seems like they're trying to hide something, or don't want all of the information to be posted because they knew something that they said they didn't, or they knew about the assassination but didn't stop it. Something along those lines is what I think.
I mean, it's possible that they knew about it and they didn't stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that would probably be the one that would be the most damaging. I'm just because, like, I feel like as an agency that's supposed to probably protect the president, if they had heard any kind of rumor or, had any kind of intelligence on it and they didn't act or give him the amount of protection he needed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if they knew he potentially was going to be assassinated, they put him in an open top car.
He requested that. JFK requested that to be closer to the people.
Well, I mean,
and they were like,
part,
hey, no, like, we want you in a closed vehicle. And he was like, no.
Yeah, but once again, like, if they're covering for themselves, the CIA should have been like, look, dude, you are possibly a target for a little bang, bang, boom, and you need to...
bang, bang, boom.
And you need to put a top on that car.
Yeah.
That's what they should have said.
Yeah.
But they probably did it way fancier in the 60s. I don't know how they would have said it. But if they didn't...
With a cigarette in their mouth.
Yes. Chain smoking.
So, okay. So the final theory is the theory of the Umbrella Man.
Oh my God.
Have you ever heard this?
I have not.
Oh
but
my
maybe
God.
I have.
You probably have.
I probably
it's
have.
Very, very popular.
I think I have, actually. Go on.
So one of the closest people to Kennedy right before he got shot was, in fact, the Umbrella Man. So he wore a black suit.
Okay.
and he carried an open black umbrella. Now, there's a huge problem with this. The afternoon that Kennedy was shot, the weather was amazing.
Right.
Not a cloud in sight, and it was dry. Out of the hundreds of people that were there, not a single person had an umbrella or a raincoat.
Okay.
And this dude had an umbrella out and open. Now, keep in mind that back in the day, they used to make like canes. I'm sure they could do it with an umbrella, but they would actually put a barrel
Right.
down the cane, and then they'd have like a button on the end, so you just lift it up, boom,
Yes.
and it would be a shot. So, as a limousine started heading his way, the umbrella man started opening and closing his umbrella, waving it around in a clockwise motion. After the assassination,
Okay.
like, Avada Kedavra.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I'm like, it's like a magic wand, and unless he's trying to like wiggle a bullet down there where it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
I mean, just a
wiggle bullet.
bullet wiggling. I don't know.
Bang.
I've never had an umbrella gun, so
After the assassination, the umbrella man was seen sitting on the grass next to the road beside another man, before standing up and walking toward the Texas School Book Depository. And this building was, of course, where Lee Harvey Oswald fired from,
right,
supposedly.
right.
So the umbrella man was later identified as Louis Stephen Witt. And he did testify to the reason why he had an open umbrella that day.
And what did he say?
So he intended it as a reference to JFK's father, Joseph, who supported British politician
What?
Neville Chamberlain.
Yeah.
So Chamberlain, who often carried a black umbrella, was known for his policy of appeasement towards Hitler.
Got it.
So he was pro-Hitler, and JFK's dad was pro-Neville Chamberlain.
I'm not gonna
So,
lie, that's the lamest excuse I've ever heard.
It is
It's
really
pretty
lame.
far-fetched. Honestly, if it was me and I was him, I would have been like, I have a bit of a allergic reaction to the sun, and I just keep an umbrella to block out light.
Maybe he's a lizard man, and he's
Anything
the sun
possible.
is like too hot for him or something.
I'm just saying, like, there's
Or
way
he could
better
have
excuses.
a barrel in the umbrella, waved it around, shot him.
I mean, that to me seems a little bit more logical.
Yeah. So I mean, there's different things. Have you ever seen Umbrella Academy on Netflix?
Yes,
You
but I've only watched season 1.
I'm
kind
about
of
to spoil it for you because I'm not gonna.
Well, I know
I
I've seen
will.
part of season 2. I know they go back to, I want to say it's the 60s, isn't it?
Yeah, 1960s.
Yeah.
So it's for those of people that don't know. So Umbrella Academy is a academy made up of superheroes or
Right.
people with superpowers. Anyways, they try to avoid the end of the world, and they go back into time, and they get dropped into the 1960s. Now, a couple of them want to prevent JFK from being assassinated, so they try to hunt down Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, they go up to the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. They find a person up there, but they did not have any weapons.
Got it.
And then the gunshots went off, and they went down there, and they saw a man in a black suit with an umbrella. And I did not put this 2 and 2 together until after researching
so
this.
you researched it, yeah.
So there was a person that shot the president. But the man in the black suit and the hat and the umbrella, I'm about to ruin it, was their father.
Oh, okay.
Back in time. And he was actually part of the CIA who was supposed to make sure that everything was played out correctly to where the assassination did take place. He was going to be the one to finish off the job if need be.
Got it. Well, I mean, you didn't really ruin it for me, but you might have ruined it for everybody listening. So if they ever felt like
Hey, I
watching
warned
Umbrella
you.
Academy.
I warned you.
What do you...
It was an amazing show. It is.
Well, I've been just waiting until all the seasons are 100% out and then watch it. I thought they had one more season.
They do, but I think it's a while, isn't it?
Yeah,
No.
that's how I'm doing
Maybe
the same.
like 5 years from now.
I'm doing the same thing with Stranger Things too.
Yeah. Anyways,
I like to watch everything all at once. I'm weird.
God damn it. I'm being told to drink.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, to this day, many people have different thoughts on what actually happened, obviously, and who actually murdered the president. So, I want to know what you think. What is your take on this? What actually happened, Shelley? The world wants to know.
Everyone wants my opinion. So I actually do think Lee Harvey Oswald was involved. I don't think he's 100% a scapegoat on it, especially since he's planning shit ahead of time. But I do think there was probably a second gunman. Do I think the CIA was involved? I don't really know.
Yeah.
But Brandon's throwing pieces of equipment around. It's all good. But I definitely think there was more than one gunman. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't say that. For all I know, the Illuminati was involved or fucking aliens.
See, and that's those were actually other conspiracy theories, but I didn't lean toward them because I didn't feel like they were completely accurate.
Look, it's not going to be a Beer Crime and Tale podcast if we don't blame aliens on something. So
I know, especially conspiracy theory.
I know
it's got to be aliens. So I think that the aliens run the show.
I know you do.
And this dude who is not an alien, they realize, oh shit, he is moving up the ladder and everybody loves him. We need to take control before this gets out of hand.
But that seems,
and the government changes.
That seems silly.
So bang, bang, pow, pow. Aliens take over. Look at me now.
So are you saying, what was the vice president, Johnson? Are you saying, isn't that the one that was next?
Yeah, Johnson took up.
My son told me some crazy stories about Johnson. Anyways.
Let me hear.
Apparently he was really proud of his dick and he thought it was huge.
Is that why they call it the Johnson?
I think so. And like during one conference, like he basically was like, no, like we're doing this because I got a big dick, and slapped his dick out on the table.
That dude's got a lot of balls.
Apparently
shit.
A lot of balls and a lot of dick. And apparently he wasn't very faithful to his wife because he had a giant penis. My son has a lot of presidential facts stored in his head, and he tells me these things all the time.
Order in the court.
That's basically what he did. And I'm like, what the hell? So, I mean, maybe he was an alien if he had that big of a dick and he's just slapping it around in front of people.
I don't think aliens have dicks.
Whatever.
I don't think they reproduce like that.
What, do they just chop off their pinky finger and now they have a new alien?
No, they touch tips. They touch the fingertips together.
Whatever. This went way off course.
Anyways. Yeah, let us know what you guys think actually happened. And if anybody knows the measurements of Johnson's
President
Johnson,
Johnson.
let us know in the comments down below.
Shoot us an email. Let us know. Like, I'm kind of curious.
If you haven't checked out our Facebook, go ahead and do that. We post the episodes and newest updates.
And go ahead and check out our Instagram at A Beer Crime and Tale, where we
do the
exact
same thing,
shit.
But it's on Instagram.
It's on Instagram because it's easier.
Yeah. And if you guys want to support us, check out our Patreon. We got different subscriptions there. You get stuff that you don't get here.
Yes, we have like 4 episodes up already?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 4 episodes.
Just different episodes that don't get released to the public. Yep.
And we'll give you a shout out. You might even get to pick out an episode that, we'll post, and we'll I'm going to order some stickers and we'll send you some stickers. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be good times.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, supporting us, all that shit. Give us a rating too, and download this episode because you love us.
And donate your second child.
As long as they rate us and, subscribe.
Yeah, then we won't have to take your child.
Whatever.
Anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, we will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye. Jeez. Just run across the mic.